So I think it's time for us to get going. Up here next to me, you can see that we have a mic and a mic stand. So when we get to the questions and answer part, you can come up and ask your question here, and that way we don't have to share a microphone. If you're unable to get up and walk up, someone will come and hold a microphone for you so that we minimize the amount of contacts on the microphone. Okay? All right. Well, on a personal note, I thought I would let you know, and I don't know if everybody has the same anxiety about this or not. I don't necessarily consider myself to be an anxious person, but I've had a couple of situations where I've tried to go to the DMV or the tax collector's office down here, and you don't have the right information, or they want something more, whatever it might be, and you spend time and you don't get things accomplished. Well, I made an appointment, and I don't know if you know this, but in order to get your driver's license and an appointment at the tax collector's office, you have to make an appointment in Duval County. St. Johns County, you don't need to make an appointment, you can just go. And it was the appointment that I got was for a month after the date that I made the appointment. And I went, and I was very happy that everything went as I expected. I was prepared, I had everything that I needed, and I wasn't surprised by anything. But I was like dreading that if I went, that I was going to have to go back again. And truth be told, I do have to go back again because they can't give me a license plate until the title gets here. So now I had to make another appointment for another month out. But we're going to become friends. So I've got my Florida driver's license. I've got my star on the driver's license for when they open back up flying. I guess we all have to have a star on our driver's license to be able to fly, unless we're going to bring a passport with us. So that was supposed to have started earlier this year. Then it was postponed to, I think, this month. And I haven't heard if it's changed again or not. But I'm now prepared for that and registered to vote and everything. I was like, wow, I can still register to vote? I would have thought that I had passed the deadline or something. So all's good in the Tenney household. All's good here at Westminster Woods as well. And this week we've been celebrating the dining service team. It is Dining Service Week. The week's not over yet. If this is news to you, say thank you to them for all that they're doing to accommodate us with the dining room service, the meal delivery, everything else. I know that the circumstances aren't perfect and we don't always get it right, and some people aren't able to get a seat at a dining room when they want to, and we're trying to do the best that we can under the circumstances, and we appreciate you for what you're doing to work with us on all of that as well. We put out an infrastructure update. Pam put that out at the beginning of the week, and things are coming along nicely. This new coastal utility group that we've been working with has been night and day different from what I heard the past company was. And the stormwater drain behind the health center is in the ground. They've been hard packing the road, and we should be able to drive back there tomorrow, maybe?
Yes, sir. You can drive back there now, but you have to come around to the last road closest to the Lifestyle Resource Building, and then turn right from there. They do have that one tractor that's in the way, but you can drive around and get back there from there. So it is open, but not directly.
So staff can start parking back there again?
Yes, sir.
People can drive to the fitness gym again?
Yes, sir.
Fitness center again?
Yes, sir. And I do take that back. I'll have to find out about staff parking back there. But yes, the residents can use the fitness center back there. Residents can drive to the dining room parking area and walk into the back door of the dining services. Yes, sir.
Right. So that's going on. If you've been walking down Main Street, you probably saw The electricians, you might not have known that they were the electricians. I didn't know that they were electricians, but the electricians are down in between B and C right now, getting all of that work done for the next phase of what's going on there. And then the liner for the lift tank is expected next week.
That's what he said, sir. They're still trying to get a confirmed date for the liner.
So we're still waiting on that, and that's kind of pushing things out a little bit more, but that's more of a service or supply chain delay than anything else. We're in the process of getting our computers updated here for the staff, and they've delivered all the computers, but the monitors didn't come. We don't know when we're going to get the monitors. So we're going to use our old monitors with the new computers, but that's just another example of the delay in the supply chain that's out there as a result of COVID, either because we can't produce enough quick enough or the demand is so high. So there's a lot that's still going on out in the world that's affecting us, and I'll just tell you, y'all are great. So the main thing that I wanted to talk about today is I wanted to start to communicate with you about the security services that we're going to start having. And I like to be able to have these dialogues with you because you'll be asking me questions, and we might not have thought to put that into the more formal publication that we'll put out. And by having these dialogues, we can know what is most important to everybody to be communicating when we communicate it more formally. But as we've been navigating our way through this pandemic and determining what we want to do in regards to hiring the replacement of staff and everything, we had a few positions open in the security department, and it's not one of our more stable departments. So, and some of our other communities have been using a contract service to provide security services on their campus. Some of the retirement communities as well as the CCRCs. So when Rod looked into it and started calling around, he was surprised to hear all the communities that did have contracted security service. So we started entertaining proposals from different companies, and there was a few things that I was looking at. I'm always interested in the history, of an organization, their values, what it makes them successful, and their commitment to the service that they're providing. So I look at that. We could also compare how much they pay the guards, how much their service fee is, and then what services are they going to be providing? Some of the security guards just sit in the gate. Some of them are willing to roam. Some of them are CPR and first aid certified. So I didn't think that there was a lot of a choice once I started looking at those elements of the proposals. And Secure America is a company that two of our other CCRCs are using. And the ops director is a certified trainer for CPR and first aid. They're responding to emergency calls in our other communities. They're very comfortable with doing that here. And so we ended up signing a contract with them to provide these services. And they were on campus on Monday, getting familiar with our campus, getting familiar with what our expectations would be, and starting to establish this partnership, between us and them. They've already hired 2 people. They're planning on hiring 2 or 3 more. And we've asked that we start the orientation of these 2 that they've already hired sooner versus later, because what hiring this security contract service is going to do is it's going to relieve the maintenance department from being at the gate so much. And the more that we're opening up resident lifestyle services, the less the drivers are able to be there, and it's only putting more demand on Rod's department. So we want to make sure that we're able to provide you the services that you are expecting and do it the best that we can. And this is a necessary adjustment, and I think it's going to be the best way to approach this. So Rod ended up spending the most time with them this Monday. And in the past, we've had, security in our maintenance department. So there was some cross-training that's always going on between maintenance and security and everything. But I thought that I'd allow Rod to come up and talk to you a little bit about the things that they talked about and what he knows is important to you, and how we're going to try to make this transition smooth and hopefully very acceptable to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, Secure America is going to come on, and initially, or until we completely do away with the gate screening, they will man the front gate for the entire first shift. And that's their sole responsibility is screening everybody that comes on the property for first shift.
So what you mean is that we're going to have security services 24 hours a day?
Correct.
24 hours a day.
7 days a week. So they will pick up that, and I just wanted to let you know that if anything's temporary, that first shift responsibility will be the only temporary position that we have. I don't know if everyone understood or not, or knew, but maintenance in the past has always taken the security responsibilities from 7 o'clock in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Then when second shift security comes on 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 11 o'clock, that was our second shift security person. And then of course our third shift security person from 11 o'clock to 7 o'clock in the morning. So we will be doing the same thing, only we will be using Secure America to do our first shift to be strictly screening. And then maintenance will still respond to any SARA pending calls and things like that. But they will be taking care of the front decks, and then security will be taking second and third shift and assume all the responsibilities that we did before. Assuming all the responsibilities would also include emergency maintenance calls. They are going to train with the maintenance staff so that they'll be able to plunge a toilet, changing out light bulbs, not necessarily an emergency, but they'll be capable of doing those things that you are accustomed to when our second shift security person was on the property. Also, if something major happens, like a boiler goes down or something like that, they'll be trained to call the on-duty maintenance person. The on-duty maintenance person most times was able to talk the second shift security person through that, or if they couldn't, then they got dressed, came in, dealt with the situation, and then left for the evening. So I don't see anything changing. They'll still do all the responsibilities that second shift did, and they'll assume all the responsibilities that third shift did, including doing exhaust fan checks, air temperature checks, water temps, and things like that. So I just wanted you to know that we're not going to be losing anything in our second and third shift responsibilities. On the weekend, we will still maintain Robert. Robert is our weekend guy that works Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. He'll still be here from 7 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. But we will also have the first, second, and third shift persons there also. So nothing is going to change there. Am I missing anything?
Something that we can also expect when we go with a professional service like this, they may have higher standards than we had. So we might be getting some additional stuff. And the one thing that I'm thinking about right now is that they're going to establish checkpoints all throughout the campus. And Rod's going to help establish where the checkpoints are. So you're going to see people regularly roaming, and it's not going to just be based on demand or whatever. I mean, obviously, if there's a call going on, they might not be roaming at the same time all the time, but you should see them regularly going around to these different checkpoints. And then I think that the reporting that we can expect from them is probably going to be a notch above, just because of the way that they're trained. So this is going to help enhance the security of our community. It's one of the first steps to helping to address the nurse emergency call practice that was happening before COVID started. And having somebody that's trained in CPR or first aid that could be able to help if something minor was going on. But they will also be, handling medical emergencies the way that we would be handling medical emergencies. They're going to assume our procedures for, falls. If somebody was to fall, we can help position a chair so that you can help yourself get up, but we're not able to help you up, and nor would they be able to help you up. So those are some of the highlights of what we're planning on doing there. And they are a really nice group. It'll be some new faces, but I think that I hope that you're going to be happy with it.
Okay, Ms. Letizia, please.
It's an observation that I've made since I've been here, and it's the need for body mechanic training. Will that be included in first aid? It's for the tram drivers and maintenance and those folks that are in that position. If somebody is like getting in and out of the tram and wobbly, that they know how to protect themselves and how to help. And so I've been thinking that training would be a good time now to do that, because even in a minor fall, if the person is assisted to the place where they can help themselves, that would avoid an ambulance call. Mm-hmm. But it would need that training.
That's a good recommendation, and I think that our physical therapists are probably the best positioned to advise any of us on proper body mechanics. So we can talk with Franco and see what we can do to incorporate some sort of body mechanic training or awareness, for people like the tram drivers or security. I think that they would be receptive to that. You were going to say something else?
I was, sir. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but I excel in it for some reason. It'll come to mind. It was just, I was going to say something about the security company that we're getting. By the way, they're going to be here Monday, and we're going to establish the operation plan with Clarence. Clarence is the operations director for Secure America. He'll be here Monday, and we're going to establish those time points where they'll need to be, and also some of those other responsibilities. So I just want to let you know that Monday, Clarence will be here to take care of that. Gosh, I wish. Checkpoints. That's a good question. Can I explain checkpoints? Well, sometimes people think that security, they get here, nothing's going on, so they go to the employee lounge, they put their feet up, and that's where they spend the next several hours or so. Well, that won't happen when you're responsible to be at a certain checkpoint periodically at specific times each evening. And like Brian was saying earlier, depending on them responding to an emergency somewhere, they're responsible to be to those checkpoints. And they have an application on the security phone. Now, it just worked out really well because they wanted to use their own security phones, which meant changing the security telephone number and all that other stuff. But it happened that our phone will sync up with their software application package. So we will maintain 219-9976. That will be the number to security. So we will continue with that. But on that phone, because it has GPS tracking and those other things, they're going to hit those specific points where they need to be during the evening hours. So, and then when they're not, they can go look to, let's say he said, well, I had to respond to Magnolia Building at 2:15, and he was supposed to be over there in the northwest corner of the main campus at 2:15. Well, they can check his GPS and say, yep, he was at the Magnolia Building at that time, so he didn't have to hit that waypoint.
There's,
Yes, ma'am. That, and they get there, they hit a button, the button connects them to that point where they're supposed to be at, and then they continue on to the next one.
it's got a dual purpose. These checkpoints have a dual purpose. One is so that there's greater visibility of the security, and you feel more confident with the security that is on campus. And then the other is to hold the security person accountable that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So it's a real good system.
Please let me, I remembered what I was going Yay! Brian alluded to the fact that it doesn't take long to notice a good company when you see one. And there were two specific items I was really concerned with. We all get really comfortable and enjoying seeing the same person on second shift, same person on third shift. We know they're there. That was very important to Brian and I, and that's why we took the company that were going to pay their security personnel a higher hourly rate than what the others did. One, it's going to help in retention. The other thing, it's going to help in consistently. You having the same person on the second shift Monday through Friday and a specific person on Saturday and Sunday and so on. So I wanted to tell that to you because we thought that was very important to us to make sure that we had kept a good retention rate so we didn't have a lot of turnover and you didn't know who the second shift guy was going to be Monday through whatever day. So that was important to us. So I just wanted to let you know that we also looked at that to make sure that we at least plan to have the consistency, the retention, and you becoming comfortable with that same person for that shift. I'm sorry. Questions now. Ms. Tibbles.
While Ms. Tibbles is coming up here, we know that consistency in personnel is important to you, and that's why it was important to us. We wanted to go with a company that would align with our culture here, and it was obvious to us that their culture was in line with what we have here.
I was just going to say perhaps it would be good for us to meet these people so we know who we're looking for, who is protecting us. If we don't see them, how do we know that's the guy that works there?
That's an awesome question, Ms. Tibbles, and yes, we're going to be able to provide that for you. We're going to do a touchdown slide. We're going to put it on My W Life to show you this is security officer so-and-so, and this is officer so-and-so. This person's going to be doing this person's going to be doing that. We'll also try to do one of these types of meetings where we can televise it and have you see them in person and actually meet some of the directors and vice presidents of Secure America themselves so they can tell you. And another thing that was nice about this company was they seem to have a lot of their values and their mission statements seem to parallel what Westminster Communities does. So we thought that was really good also.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so to piggyback on that, you probably are used to, maybe not as much here, because maintenance arranges a lot of the services, or they provide the services, but if you have like a air conditioner guy come to your house, you usually get a email with a picture of the person that's coming as a way of letting you know who's coming and better security. And Rod and I talked with them about having their pictures and maybe being able to put on channel 266, here's who's working today, you know, in their name. But yes, we also did talk to them about coming maybe the beginning of November, early November, to one of these, and we can introduce them to you. Wayne?
Thank you, Mr. Tenney. It's my understanding, and I think you mentioned this earlier, that security, the current policy is if someone has fallen, security cannot pick them up, cannot help them up, and this will continue with the new, is this a liability issue? And the reason I ask, when I had my broken leg and could not put weight on it, I tipped forward, and it was in my walk-in closet. When Cynthia heard about it, she said I was coming out of the closet, but that's not true. I'm not outing myself from the closet. But you know, fortunately the security person was able to get me up, and it was a very simple thing, and you know, saved a call for an ambulance to come and an EMT person to help me up. Mm-hmm. But I could not put weight on the leg because it was broken.
The number one reason for workers' comp claims is lifting people. And almost all companies have stopped allowing their employees to lift and to only utilize mechanical lifts. So like in the health center, mm-hmm. we would use a mechanical lift to get somebody up, and then there's still got to be two people assisting the person with the mechanical lift. You know, we're not putting the employees in a position where they could hurt themselves or do something that could be contraindicated with somebody with an injury. We wouldn't want to put them in that position either. Yes, ma'am?
Two questions. One, are all of the gates now open and working?
All of the gates are working, I am pleased to announce. Matter of fact, we made some major modifications on the Southwood gate, so it won't break down as much. But yes, and then we upgraded the arm on the entrance gate to Eastwood. That's working really well, and the Creekside motor was changed out. Everything seems to be working just fine.
So the gate opener I have will open all gates on campus, is that correct?
The gate opener that all the residents have will open all the gates on the campus. So if you have the black one with the white button on it, that will open all the gates. Eastwood is a little lucky because they have a gray one that will open their gate, but none of the others. But they also have a black and white one that'll open their gate, but all the other gates as well.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
The other question or suggestion, it would be very helpful if we had access to pictures of staff. We urge people to put them on Touchtown for residents, but it's very hard when you don't see name tags half the time up close to know who's who, and I would really like to know names and pictures of staff. Thank you.
So you're talking about a picture directory of staff? Mm-hmm. We'll see what we can do. Any other questions about the security? change? Okay. We are testing again today, and everybody that was tested on Tuesday, which was all of our staff and our health center residents, tested negative. Those results came back this morning, so that was good, and we're hoping that that happens again today. So y'all probably got the letter that I sent out yesterday in regards to a independent living exposure with a home care provider, but fortunately that wasn't one of our staff, and it's not in the health center, so or assisted living, so that we don't have to increase our restrictions or anything to that effect. We are waiting, and hopefully that person will not contract the virus. So fortunately, because of the procedures that we've had with masking and everything, there have been very few transmissions from one person to another. A lot more exposures, but very few transmissions from one person to another on our campus. Okay. You want to come up here?
My question is mostly for Rod. Well, number one, I just kind of was curious, why did those trees have to come down? And secondly, how is the sidewalk going to be laid out between B and C when it's...
A very good question, and I'm glad you asked it so I can explain to everybody why those 3 pine trees had to come down. Those 3 pine trees had to come down because their root system has raised so high that we could not get any water to drain off the patios. The water would almost come up to where the foundation was, and so we felt that this was a very good time to get those trees cut down, put the root system down, and then have the yards graded to a point where they would drain all the water to the new sidewalk and drain out into Turtle Lake the way it was again. So we didn't take any live oaks, we didn't take any big trees, we just took those 3 big pine trees and 1 small
Sago palm.
Yeah, we took the sago palm out,
Yeah.
so we could get the slope that we needed to the sidewalk so the rain comes off and we won't have to worry about any flooding issues between the south side of B and the north side of C. Also, that sidewalk is going to be exactly the same as it was from Longer Lane all the way up to probably 40 foot before it gets to Main Street. Then it's going to take a 45-degree angle towards the B building, and then it's going to take another 45 to line up exactly the way that it would line up on the north side of the museum or the creek side of museum. So it'll line up exactly. So now we won't have, where someone comes up between B and C and goes to take a right on Main Street and somebody's coming out of where the museum is, and we won't have that. It'll be an actual four-way stop right there.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I was visualizing this kind of thing because of those 2 facility things that you're putting in there.
And then the sidewalk will remain the same width. It'll be 7 foot. We're just going to take a 45 and just make an S right into hook up right there.
Is it going to be like this?
No, ma'am. It's not going to be a spillway. It's going to be a flat sidewalk. Good question.
Thank you.
And we do apologize for not communicating better about those trees coming down. And I'm familiar with the procedures now, and we'll do a better job of making sure that you're aware before trees come down, and we explain to you why they have to come down beforehand, not afterwards.
And I'm sorry Brian is saying I'm sorry to you, because I know the procedures. I announced it at the maintenance committee meeting. I announced it at another meeting, and I just failed to put it on My W Life, and I regret that, and it won't happen again, I promise you.
Right.
Okay, I have a problem, and I don't think I'm the only one that has a problem. If you drive and you have an assigned parking place, when you go to the doctor, or you go to the pharmacy, or you go to visit family, doesn't matter. When you come back, there's a car in your parking place, and it's every time you leave. I have tried to go through the channels. Communication here is not so good in lots of different directions. When I first had this problem, I called Lisa. She said, get the tag numbers and give them to me. I get the tag numbers, I call her, she says, call maintenance. They're the ones who handle this. You call maintenance and nothing's there. Well, I'm sort of a person of action. If I've gone months, a couple of months or 3 with this situation, and it's just like today, I'm trying to help my daughter because they're out of the state and their refrigerator was bad. So the man's coming to fix the refrigerator. So I go yesterday, he fixed the refrigerator. Well, I'm going to clean the refrigerator out while there's nothing in it. So I go and I take towels and cloths and, whatever you need. And here I get back, I've got my little dog. I've got 2 bags with wet, big towels. And I'm out of a parking place. So that means I'm going to have to go find somewhere to park. Now, I assume that everyone who works here can read. And when it says residence parking, number such and such, I believe they can understand that. Now, I have started blocking them in. And I will continue to do that as long as they are in my parking place. And I don't care how they get out, I'm not moving my car. I'm to that point. As I say, I'm a person of action. This could be stopped. All you have to do, there's a sign at the front gate that says your car may be towed. We could send a little message out saying, now, if you park in a residence parking place, then your car will be towed. Okay. You've given them a warning. Everybody sees this. Somebody parks there. You call AAA. They come haul it off. Takes one time. That's all it'll take. Word will get out. It'll be solved. And I won't have to continually call somebody and give them tag numbers. There were 4 cars out there today that none of them belonged there and that I knew of. And I'm sure there are others that I don't know of. So that's my beef today. And I'm going to tell you that I'm going to take action. So there.
We can look at, what standard and guidelines we have for towing at this point. And if we do have one, we can communicate that we can start enforcing it. I'll talk with the leadership team first and the resident council before we make any changes. But we would want to have a procedure before we would start towing anybody. And we also would want to make sure that we gave them a warning the first time.
I'm just the kind of person that I try to go through the right channels all the time and do the right thing. But once my right thing is not accomplishing anything, and I have talked to everybody I need to talk to, then I'm going to do something. So I just want y'all to be aware of that. I'm one of these people that are just, that's me. That's me.
Well, I will ask you to allow the person out. We will follow up with this person. I think that the difficulty that people might be having right now with the parking was that a lot of the staff parking behind the health center was not available due to the work that was going on. And it doesn't give them an excuse, to park in your spot or anybody else's spot, but that's now coming to an end, and I hope that you will not have this problem any longer.
I hope not too, but I'll tell you something else. I had this problem before we didn't have parking for the line. I mean, it's continuous.
Rod, do you want to talk about the new spots that have been put up in front of the garden apartments?
Well, yes, sir, I can talk about that. We've finally got all the new sod put in. All the new sidewalks are in. We've got the east and west sides, except for the entrance into the big drop-off material laydown area that we have over there. Except for about 4 parking spots. We have all new parking curbs. They're concrete with plastic coverings over them. I've got all new, and it's got the number of the residence parking space, resident, the word resident on it. And I saw Mike Lake and Sam working on that this morning. So I'm sure we're going to have all them in place real soon. And then as soon as we can get to the laydown side of that area, we can get that finished off and have all the parking spaces. And I believe, 4 extra, Lisa, or 3 extra? Okay, I think we ended up getting 3 or 4 extra parking spaces there, so we'll be able to have those. And I will even look for Ms. Tibble to see how well that resident paint is on in those parking spaces there, or on the curbs or the parking stops, and we'll make sure that it's clearly defined that that's a resident parking space, because I've been very lenient for the last 8 months since we've been doing all this construction stuff, telling visitors, vendors, and staff they can park anywhere they want except in a parking space that says resident. And I'm sad that Ms. Tibble's had such a hard time with this, but I've been pretty lenient where everyone parks, and they all know not to park in a resident parking space, so I will be a little more diligent. Please give me a call. I don't answer my phone all the time, but I do listen to my voicemails twice a day, and I'll get to it as soon as I can.
So are these new parking spaces in front of the garden apartments going to be new spaces for people that are already parking out there? So like where they're parking now, that will be moved to one of these newer spaces?
Well, that's a good question, sir. Originally, we did this 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. We sat down, figured out all the parking spaces, and like this A9 and A10, tried to get them closest to where the parking spots were, and then we got a parking spot for every unit. Not the resident, but every unit should have been assigned a parking space. I think what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go back, revisit that, confirm what we do have, and then assign those parking spaces to, let's say, a married couple that have 2 vehicles on the main campus. Then we'll make sure they have 2 parking spots. They might not be next to each other, but we're going to try to get the residents as close to their vehicle as their unit is. Is that good? And Jerry Joe and a committee from the main campus, residents volunteered. We all got together. We hashed this all out. We had a plan of where all the vehicles were parked and what number. So we gave them different numbers because we didn't want them to match the unit number, because we didn't want someone that had no business knowing that somebody in A10 wasn't home because their vehicle wasn't there. So we all just gave the parking spots a number and then lined them up accordingly. So we can get back to that, make sure we have fresh, new parking spaces assigned to each garden apartment. Shouldn't be any issues after that.
I'm going to take a chance of putting you on the spot because you're not, I'm not sure what your answer is going to be. But do you have an update on the Magnolia lobby or lounge area furniture?
I do. As a matter of fact, Christine sent me an email the other day to tell me that she was going to give me confirmation on when the furniture was coming, and I haven't seen that. So she gave it to me last Thursday. I haven't seen it. As soon as we get done here, I'll go and email Christine and see if she can give me an actual date when the new furniture and the reupholstered chairs will be back from Magnolia, sir.
Okay. So as soon as we find out, we'll communicate with Magnolia. All right, Pam, any questions from Zoom? If anybody on Zoom has a question that they would like to ask or a comment they'd like to make, you can raise your hand and Pam will identify you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much. This is the only one that we're having this month. I am going to take a couple days off toward the end of the month, and it was in conflict with the date that we would normally be doing this, and we couldn't work out another date. So we'll do this again in November. Okay? Thank you.